Hello, horror aficionados, and welcome to Dark and Haunting Tales. Get ready to be thrilled and chilled as we present a collection of terrifying horror stories special. But beware, these stories aren't for the faint of heart. Be advised, they'll make your blood run cold and keep you awake at night. So whether you're driving, in work, or on your bed getting ready to sleep, whatever you're doing, get ready to embark on this harrowing journey with us. As always, are you ready to be terrified? Well, let's begin. The legend of the Wailing Banshee had long haunted our small town. It was said that every Halloween night, deep in the heart of the misty woods, she would make her chilling presence known, and her wailing scream would foretell impending doom. My friends and I had grown up with these stories, but this year we decided to venture into the woods to uncover the truth for ourselves. It was a chilly Halloween night, and the full moon hung in the sky, casting an eerie light through the mist-shrouded trees. My friends Chloe, Paul, and Joe gathered at the edge of the woods, our flashlights cutting through the dense fog. A nervous energy hung in the air as we prepared to venture into the unknown. As we entered the woods, the silence was deafening. The only sounds were the crunch of leaves beneath our feet and our ragged breaths in the chilled air. We followed an overgrown trail, our flashlights barely piercing the fog that enveloped us. Paul was the first to break the silence.
You guys ever heard the banshee scream before?
Joe shook his head.
Never in person, only in stories told around campfires.
I chimed in, trying to mask my unease.
They say it sounds like the wailing of the damned, foretelling tragedy.
The deeper we ventured into the woods, the more the mist seemed to close in around us. The air grew colder, and the sense of foreboding settled over our group. Suddenly, we heard it, an unearthly, bone-chilling wail that seemed to emanate from all around us. The sound was unlike anything we had ever heard. It was as if the very forest itself was screaming in pain. Chloe whispered, her voice trembling.
That's it, the banshee's wail.
My heart raced as the wailing grew louder, sending shivers down our spines. The chilling scream seemed to be coming closer, and we felt an evil presence lurking in the fog, waiting to strike. Joe's voice quivered as he spoke.
We should turn back.
But before we could make a move, the banshee scream reached a deafening crescendo, and she appeared before us. She was a ghostly figure, her hair flowing in the mist, and her eyes burning with malevolence. The banshee's wail intensified, and the sense of impending doom gripped us. We knew we had to escape, but the wail was paralyzing, freezing us in our tracks. With a final piercing scream, the banshee lunged at us. We broke free from our trance and ran, crashing through the thick underbrush. Her wail echoed through the woods as she pursued us, her presence an unrelenting force of terror. Our hearts pounded, and we could barely see through the mist as we stumbled over tree roots and rocks. The banshee's wail grew more distant, and we finally burst out of the woods, gasping for breath. As we caught our breath, we realized we had survived the encounter, but the memory of the banshee's scream would forever haunt our memories. We had learned a terrifying truth that Halloween night. The legends of the Wailing Banshee were not just stories. They were a chilling reality, a warning of the impending doom she foretold. The banshee's wail still echoed in our ears, leaving us trembling in fear every Halloween, knowing that the legend was all too real. When I was a teenager, one Halloween night, I had an encounter that still sent shivers down my spine. It was the kind of story I've only ever heard in horror movies, but it happened to me and I'll never forget it. On that fateful night, my friends and I decided to spend Halloween by daring each other to visit a creepy, abandoned cabin at the edge of town. We'd all heard the tales about this place being cursed, and the bravest of us was dared to enter alone. Unfortunately for me, I drew the short straw. As I stood in front of Agnes' cabin, it loomed in the darkness, barely visible in the pale moonlight. The night was icy cold, and the rustling of leaves in the wind seemed to echo like ghostly whispers. My flashlight was my only source of courage as I pushed the creaky cabin door open and entered the place. The floor beds groaned beneath my feet, and the air inside was musty, like no one had been there for years. I nervously laughed to myself, thinking I was alone, but that was a big mistake. The moment my flashlight flickered, I felt a presence behind me. Turning around, I was met with a horrifying sight. Standing there, wearing the infamous hockey mask and tattered clothes, was a man dressed as Jason, the iconic character from the Friday the 13th movies. My heart stopped, and a chill ran down my spine as I realized this was no Halloween prank. It was something much more sinister. Jason raised a machete high above his head, and I knew I was in grave danger. Panic set in, and I made a dash for the cabin's back door. I could hear his heavy boots thudding behind me, getting closer with each step. As I burst out of the cabin, I didn't dare look back, knowing that Jason, or someone pretending to be him, was right behind me. My footsteps seemed to echo through the woods. Branches scratched my face, and leaves crunched under my frantic sprint. The forest felt endless, and my heart pounded in my chest as if it wanted to escape the terror that pursued me. I finally stumbled upon a small convenience store, gasping for breath and covered in dirt and sweat. The store clerk stared at me in confusion as I frantically explained what had happened at the cabin. The older man's eyes widened in alarm, and he swiftly dialed the police. While I waited for the authorities to arrive, I noticed the clerk was kind enough to offer me a cup of hot coffee and a chair to sit on. I accepted both with gratitude, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in the pit of my stomach. When the police arrived, I led them back to the cabin, praying that they would find some evidence of the horrifying encounter. However, when we reached the cabin, it was as if Jason and all evidence of his presence had vanished into thin air. The police conducted a thorough search of the area, but found nothing. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints, and the cabin appeared just as desolate as it had been when I entered. It was as if my harrowing experience had never occurred, and I was left feeling more confused and terrified than ever. The police assured me that they would keep an eye on the cabin and increase patrols in the area to ensure my safety. They couldn't definitely confirm whether the man in the Jason costume was a Halloween prank or something more sinister, but they took my experience seriously. That Halloween night left me with more questions than answers. I couldn't understand who this person was, what their intentions were, or how they had managed to disappear so quickly. Every Halloween since, I've been haunted by the thought that he might still be out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for another unsuspecting victim to cross his path. The cursed mansion stood on the outskirts of our small town, a looming shadow that cast a sinister aura over the entire area. The house had been abandoned for decades, its windows shattered, and its wood rotting away. No one in town dared to go near it, and tales of its dark history had circulated for generations. One crisp Halloween evening, my friends and I decided to challenge our fears and investigate the eerie mansion. I was there with Mike, Monica, and David, all of us ready to prove our courage. As we approached the mansion, we noticed a strange stillness in the air. Even though the leaves rustled around us, the house appeared darker than the surrounding night, as if it had absorbed all the moonlight. We hesitated but couldn't resist the allure of the forbidden. The stories of a cursed family who relived their brutal deaths over and over again intrigued us. Halloween night was approaching, and the legend claimed that the cursed family had met their end in this house on that very night. With flashlights in hand, we carefully entered the mansion, the floorboards creaking beneath our feet. The air inside was suffocating and filled with the scent of decay. The house was a maze of decrepit rooms, each filled with shattered furniture and dusty cobwebs, covered memories of days gone by. We ventured deeper, our nerves on edge, as strange sounds echoed through the halls. Monica spoke first, her voice trembling.
Do you feel that? It's like we're being watched.
The unease that settled over us was palpable. The legend came back to haunt us as we explored further, the ghostly family's plight looming large in our thoughts. As we reached the upper floor, an agonizing scream pierced the air. We turned to see the ghostly apparitions of a family, frozen in a never-ending globe of violence and despair. The mother wept, the father raged, and their children cowered in fear. I whispered,
This can't be real.
Mike added, his voice unsteady.
It's as if they are reliving their deaths over and over.
The ghosts paid no attention to us, trapped in their endless torment. We couldn't bear to witness their suffering and moved on, our hearts heavy with sorrow for the family cursed to relive their gruesome end. As we ventured deeper into the mansion, we found a room that seemed to defy the laws of time. It was Halloween night, and the specters of the family reenacted their death in chilling detail. The father raised a weapon, the mother begged for mercy, and the children's terrified screams echoed through the room. In horror, we watched, feeling the weight of their pain and anguish. We knew we had to escape this cursed place. We ran back through the dark corridors, but the house seemed to shift around us, trapping us within its malevolent walls. Desperation set in as we searched for an exit, our minds racing. The spirits of the family followed us. Their anguished cries spread through the mansion. We could feel their despair clawing at us, changing us in ways we couldn't understand. Monica cried out,
We can't stay here.
with every ounce of strength We burst through the front door, gasping for breath as the mansion faded into the distance behind us. But we weren't unchanged. Halloween night had forever bound us to the cursed family, their tormented spirits now residing within us. We could hear their cries in our dreams, feel their pain in our bones. The cursed mansion has exacted a horrifying price for our curiosity, and the cursed family's tragic story had become a part of our own. The horrors of that night spent in that malevolent house would forever haunt our souls, reminding us that some places should never be disturbed, especially on Halloween, when the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the past may come back to claim the unwary. Thank you guys for joining us on this Halloween special of terrifying and chilling stories. If you enjoyed these terrifying tales, don't forget to like, turn on post notifications so you can be updated on everything new we upload, and subscribe to be part of our growing community of horror aficionados. Until next time, sleep tight if you can.